This series has been endorsed by the California Teachers Association, the California School Boards Association, and the California Library Association.
California's Gold is provided to the PBS network statewide through a grant from Wells Fargo Bank, coming through for Californians for over 135 years.
Hi, I'm Huell Howser, and this is Mission San Luis Obispo. Built back in the late 1700s, this is the fifth of 21 missions built all up and down the California coast by the Spanish. Today, this mission is located right in the middle of downtown San Luis Obispo. Now, this part of the state is called the Central Coast, and it's called that because it's located just about halfway between Los Angeles and San Francisco. It's a beautiful part of the state. There's a lot of history here, too, and this is where we're going to be hanging out for the next couple of days as we go in search of California's gold.
Hi, we're Bob and Wendy, and we live in San Luis Obispo, and we'd like to perform one of our favorite songs for you. It goes like this.
California, here I come, right back where I started from. Where flowers bloom in the sun. Each morning at dawning, bird is singing everything a sun-kissed miss said, don't be late. That's why I can hardly wait. Open up that golden gate, California, here I come.
It was one of those picture-perfect days with blue skies and fresh air. And we were zipping up the 101 freeway from Los Angeles looking for the Monterey Street exit. Now, we'd heard that one of San Luis Obispo's most historic sites was right off the freeway. And sure enough, there it was. Now, at first glance, it looked like just another pleasant little roadside motel. But we'd done our homework and already knew this was no ordinary motel. Built in 1925 and located right on the side of old Highway 1, this motel with its Spanish-style architecture became a popular stopping place for motorists traveling between L.A. and San Francisco. Today, the original buildings still stand. The ivy-covered arches, the stately tower, and the freestanding bungalows, showing their age, but in a graceful way. Now, we had called ahead to let the owners know we were coming, but I must admit I was a little overwhelmed by the welcome we got. A full committee of the local citizens on hand to give me a personally guided tour. By now, you may be wondering, why all the fuss? What is so special about this place? Well, what's so special is that this was the first motel in the world. This is where the word motel was born.
It was originally had motor hotel on it. It was a motor hotel, and the sign blew down during a windstorm. And of course, that was during the Depression when things were expensive, so the sign man came out and he suggested, in order to save money, instead of putting up motor hotel, put motel. And it originally had a hyphen, M-O-T-E-L.
So that's
this
how
is
it
how
started.
It become to be known as the first motel in the world. This is where the word motel came from.
Now, are you sure that's the correct story, or do you think maybe it's been embellished a little bit over the years?
Mr. John Freeman, whose father was, I know, was the sign painter.
So you know this for sure?
This is to be true.
You'd stake your life on it?
Yes.
100%. Look right in.
Right.
No, I doubt whether they realized that motel would become quite the word that it has.
Yeah.
In fact, the early advertisements talk about it as being hoteldom in bungalows.
What?
Hoteldom in bungalows.
Hoteldom in bungalows.
because people didn't understand what a motel was. The idea of driving right up to your room was alien to them. So this was quite a new idea, and so you had to explain it somehow.
Wow. So this place really was kind of on the cutting edge. I mean, they were really out there.
Yeah, and I doubt whether they had any idea just how far out they were. I mean, to tell you the truth.
It's kind of a place, though, if you were driving down the road, you could miss this little motel.
Well, that's why they
easily.
painted it pink early on.
Wait a minute, they painted it pink?
It was painted pink, yeah. The Madonna Inn isn't our first pink palace here in San Luis Obispo. This was painted pink to attract tourists. And you
Did
can
it work?
See some of the pink color. It did, yes. The place has had its ups and downs during the Depression, but by and large, it's retained a fairly full occupancy. It wasn't the hit at first that people thought it was going to be. The motoring age was just getting going, and of course the Depression comes along and puts a kink in it. So 1925, 1927, when this was completed, was probably a wrong time. You needed 10 years to make up what you'd spent. And
But it survived.
It survived, yeah, and it survived remarkably
Pink paint
well.
and all.
Pink paint. You can see it under the peeling
Wait a minute.
exterior.
Where do you see
I
pink?
see pink paint right through this little
Well, wait a
corridor
minute.
here.
Wait a minute. Come on.
You drive by.
Oh, there's the pink paint.
Yeah, it's undeniably pink.
Oh, my goodness.
Faded by sun. That paint is probably 1934, 1935.
Wow, look at this.
And that's what the Depression would drive you to. It's something to think about where our economy's heading now, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah. And you can see it's been patched over a number of times. Pink still survives. When I was a kid, and my family stayed here in the 1940s, you couldn't miss this place. I mean, it just stood out like a bunion.
Like a pink thumb.
Yeah, that's right.
What does it feel like to be the new owner of a place that has this kind of history to it?
Well, you know, I've been around this town for about 25 years, and we haven't had any, we just kind of fell into this type of thing, and we enjoy it. And, you know, you lay awake at night and thinking of all the problems you have, the gas leaks and the water leaks, and people calling, wanting water in the middle of the night, and it's not hot, and so on. But, you know, the nostalgia is something great, and you'd be surprised the people that stop here, in just the few short months that I've been here, that stop here and just go on and on and on. And I didn't realize what I had, even though I've been in town all this time. I spent a lot of time here in this, because we have our Exchange Club and Kiwanis Club meetings here that I belong to, and we have all these meetings here, and we certainly didn't realize what we have until you really get involved. It's kind of a laid-back thing, and there's some great times to be had here.
What do you mean laid back?
Well, nobody's ever, I mean, we haven't had any time to fix anything up, and so they have to have what it is, and that's what it is. It's the first motel in the world, and some of it looks like it.
Okay, so it does need a little paint here and some fixing up there. But what a charming place the Motel Inn turned out to be. Has an old-timey character all its own. You don't see many of these places around anymore. Over the years, countless thousands of motorists have stopped in here on their way between Los Angeles and San Francisco to spend the night, or soak up some rays beside the pool, play a little volleyball, or relax in one of the modern rooms complete with air conditioning. And while the guests enjoy their stay, they have the satisfaction of knowing they're in the very place where the word motel was first used. A little bit of California's gold, right on the side of Highway 101. It's Sunday afternoon, and we're out for a drive, traveling through a part of San Luis Obispo County that's a little off the beaten track. Our welcoming committee back at the Motel Inn had told us about this place we just had to visit, and had volunteered to take us out there. Our destination was about 30 miles northeast of San Luis Obispo, on the way to Lake Margarita, through some beautiful country, complete with big oak trees and rolling hills. Now, I'm glad we had somebody with us, because otherwise we might have driven right by this place. Welcome to downtown Pozo, California, site of the Pozo Saloon. Now, this sign up here says saloon, but it wasn't originally a saloon, was it?
No, this was a dance hall and part of the old hotel as well.
There were once plenty of saloons in Pozo.
Oh, yes.
There was a population of at least 1,000 people here at one time.
Right here?
Right here in this little area. Most of the homes are gone. We could actually draw you a map showing hundreds of homes in this whole area. There was a gold rush right next door. As we go up over these mountains here, we go into a real rugged corridor of mountains before you come down into the high Carrizo Plains, where the mysterious Indian rock is. But as you go through those mountains, you're going through a gold rush area. And in the 1880s, there were over 1,500 miners up here. This was their watering hole. This is where they came to drink and make merry.
So all of the miners are gone, but the saloon is still here.
The saloon's still here, and the echoes of the past are still around. When you said you really wanted to define what this county was about, it's Pozo.
Now, when you spend an afternoon at the Pozo Saloon, you're in for a treat. Country music on the back porch, horseshoes in the backyard, meat cooking on an outdoor grill, and people sitting around soaking it all in and loving every minute of it. Now, this place definitely has its own atmosphere, with stuffed animals on the walls and dollar bills on the ceilings. But inside and out, it's a place for all kinds of people to get together for fun and fellowship. Now, do you hang out here at the saloon very much?
Well, yeah, I just live 3 miles down the road.
So you're up here all the time.
Yeah, pretty well.
Now, what goes on up here?
Oh, they have dances, and we come up and have a hamburger sometimes on Friday nights and a couple of beers.
Is this kind of the local hangout?
That's all there is.
So this is it?
25 miles to town.
What's going on around here? You stopping into the saloon?
Oh, yeah. Gotta get a burger and something cold to drink.
Is this a usual stop when you're out riding around the countryside?
Well, we kind of came out here purposely so we could stop at the Pozo Saloon when we got done.
Really?
Yeah. This is where we start.
And this is where you stop, right in there?
Yeah, so when you finish, you're close to the beer.
You like the atmosphere inside?
Oh, yeah, it's great.
How would you describe... Wait a minute, there's a helicopter coming in.
Yeah, that's how the rich bikies get here. They just heli in.
People arrive here by helicopter?
Motorcycle, helicopter, bicycle, Harleys, horses, foot, pretty much every mode of transport.
Good grief.
Yeah.
That burger right there is for the dog.
What do you mean that burger's for the dog?
It's his birthday today. He should be in here eating it.
Yeah.
Right there, that's his chair.
This burger is for your dog.
See, there's a dog out there in that truck, and that's his burger.
His birthday.
Sir, this is a heart attack. That's the dog's burger.
The dog's name's Bert. It's his birthday today.
So it's Bert's birthday, and that's Bert's burger.
Hey, I didn't forget you, buddy. Give me a burger just for you. All right.
All right. When somebody comes to visit, we'll and they want to go to a local cowboy type place from the past, we'll bring them out here. This is, it's close by.
Now, who wanted to go to a local cowboy place? The two of you, where are you from?
We're from Wrightwood.
From Wrightwood. So you're visiting up here, and you wanted to see a place that had some local flavor.
Right. So they brought us here.
I think you found
yes,
it.
we did. It's great.
Now, how would you describe what it's like to perform in a place like this?
How would I describe it? Very relaxing. Paradise. It is nice. It's the kind of place where the climate's a bit hot. You come out to Pozo, and there's always a breeze coming through this valley, and these trees cool everything up.
Peaceful, country, and just lots of fun. Lots of fun.
What are you having for lunch here?
Steak, sandwich, beans, and salsa.
Beer.
And beer.
And, oh, yeah, and a beer. And it's great.
You like the feeling that the place has?
Oh, it's beautiful. I've lived in California all my life. I was born in California, Southern California. And it used to be like this, but it's not anymore. But this is like it used to be all over California.
Wow, this is just
wonderful. Great. It is. It's great. Love it.
If you've never been to the saloon, it's actually a place that people should come to see, not because I own it, but because, but because it's part of the history of California. It was an old stagecoach stop. It used to be the way to get from San Luis Obispo into Bakersfield in the valley, and it used to be quite a large community, about 1,000 people, with a store and a mail post office and blacksmith shop and the Pozo Saloon and a hotel and a lot of homes and ranches.
And now it's just about this.
this is it. And we get a lot of our people actually from the surrounding area rather than from local. They come from Santa Maria, Paso Robles, San Luis Obispo.
Now, why do you think people drive all the way to get
Because
here?
it's a part of history. It really is. It's part of where we came from and who we are, and it feels good. Doesn't it feel good when you walk in?
Yeah,
there? It
you
feels
gotta-
good. It does. It feels comfortable, and nice ghosts are in here, and nice spirits, and
You don't
it has a
really
good
have to
feeling.
work hard to do that either, do you? It's just kind of here already.
That's
I mean,
right.
it's...
But you're right. We didn't have to create it. It came with what it has. It did.
Well, I didn't see any ghosts, but all the people I saw that Sunday afternoon were indeed having a good time. In fact, it'd be almost impossible not to have a good time at the Pozo Saloon, this little roadside stop way out in the country, where the past and the present blend together just fine.
Show me a place where I don't have to hurry. That's where I belong.
When you first see them, you're overwhelmed by their size and their beauty. These huge sand dunes which go on for miles up and down the Central Coast. Now, these are part of the Oceano Pismo Dunes, located about 15 miles south of San Luis Obispo. I was brought here by Norm Hammond, a local resident who's done a lot of research on a group of people who over 60 years ago used to live in these dunes. They call themselves Dunites, and they actually built little shacks and cabins right out in the dunes and call this place home. They were artists and writers and poets. Some of them were mystics, and some were people who today we'd call hippies. During the 1930s, they were in their heyday when Gavin Arthur, grandson of former U.S. President Chester Arthur, moved here, built a little community called Moy Mel, and started publishing a literary magazine called the Dune Forum, which contained all sorts of writings and poetry inspired by the dunes. Celebrities from W.C. Fields to John Steinbeck stopped by to visit with the Dunites. And even though no more than 30 to 40 people ever lived here at a time, it was a thriving community made up of real characters.
George Blaze was one of the more interesting characters. People called him Frenchie, and that was due to the fact that he was a nudist. All the pictures you see of him, he has wearing nothing except for a loincloth, and that was what he wore to go to town in. That was his dress-up clothes. And he lived on raw wheat. That was his diet. And he made, he'd go to the store there in Oceano, where they sell feed for livestock, and he would buy these 100-pound bags, and he would bring them out here, and he'd make them up into cakes, and that's what he lived on.
What did the townspeople think about these Dunites?
Well, they thought they were odd.
Well, the Dunite community flourished through the 30s and 40s, but by the 1950s, things had slowed down considerably. And it wasn't much longer before the colony, its people, and its buildings completely disappeared. Sounds like the end of the story, doesn't it? But it turns out that Norm, through over 20 years of painstaking research, had located the last living Dunite. His name is Elwood Decker, an artist who lived in the dunes for over 13 years. Now, Elwood's not only alive and well, but spry as all get out. And on this very special day, he took us on a journey through the dunes back in time.
Well, most everybody lived close enough to walk to the other person's place. There was a nice sociability. I mean, everywhere didn't have we didn't have much money, but a little money went such a long way. God, for a quarter or a dollar, you'd have a terrific party and invite everybody. it was during the Depression, and what it meant was a life of freedom, a purity of habitat, a freedom of food, the fish in the sea, and you could make a garden, have any kind of vegetable you wanted. The water seeped from the lakes under the sand to the ocean. So digging usually 3, 4, or 5 feet, you had a freshwater well. You seem to be living in endless time. And there's something about the dunes, always the same slant, always the same curve. Places where you go down deep and come up. Mm-hmm. And I had a path to town, which was along this, more or less what I call the inland route, where there was vegetation, and you could have a fierce wind blowing from the ocean, and you wouldn't feel it. You'd be protected from it. Well, on a real cold winter day, that was something. So I traveled inland road during the winter. And in the summer, I loved to go down and splash in the beach as I went to town.
Now, during the day, we did a lot of walking. And I quickly realized that if you didn't know where you were going, you could easily get lost in the dunes. But on this day, there was no problem. Because even though he had been away from the dunes for decades, Elwood found his way back to the exact spot where his little house had stood.
Do you remember this?
I remember the general feeling of one of those dunes coming down with brush going over it. Mm-hmm. But I have never seen it in this particular formation. And of course, I remember this beach grass. This indicates that there was water at one time here. Mm-hmm. In fact, maybe 5 feet down, you'd find some moisture. I don't know. Like, here's dunes coming up over here like this. Then you go down the bank, and then down in here would be my shack. It's quite a way. And then I'd have a garden. Over here I might have a well. I lived quite a bit alone.
Now, at this point, our conversation was interrupted, rather loudly, by 2 dirt bikers out for an afternoon of fun on the dunes.
What would you have thought if these 2 guys had come by on something like this when you were living out here?
She said I thought they were from Mars. That's it.
Well,
I'm telling the truth.
Norm, do you think there are any foundations or anything left up in here?
I don't think so. I've pretty much combed through the bushes and the trees and stuff over the years looking for anything that survives.
So it's pretty well gone.
It's gone. One of the buildings was taken out of here and moved into Oceano, and it's still there. That was Gavin's cabin. It's set very near where we're standing.
So here's the sign, Moy Mel. This is where it was. What did Moy Mel mean?
Moy Mel is ancient Gaelic. It means honey sweet plain.
Honey sweet plain.
Yes, it's sort of an affectionate description of the old-time colony that was here. And as long as Gavin's money lasted, boy, it was a honey sweet time, all right. Because when the money ran out, some of the Moy Mel disappeared into the sand. In fact, this is sort of eerie for me to come here and see it deserted, because I'm conscious of the fact that there were a lot of people living in here, and we used to throw parties and have a marvelous time.
And now it's quiet.
Now there's nothing. It's just a sort of a ghost place. What you're talking about is the peace and quiet. And with this peace and quiet you have a curving beauty that's always changing, with long slanting lines to match the curves. The sand. Here, I feel, no wonder I lived here. It's terrific.
You know, it must have been quite a place, this little colony where people like Elwood Decker built their houses and lived for years. But times change, and today young people ride their bikes on the very dunes that back in the 30s Elwood and his friends called home. But even though there are no buildings left to let us know the place ever existed, individuals like Norm Hammond with his research and Elwood with his wonderful first-hand stories link us to this very interesting group of people who once lived in the dunes and proudly call themselves Dunites. You know, we've only been here on the Central Coast a few days now, but already we've fallen in love with this place. And to be completely honest with you, while we were shooting some of these stories, I don't know how many people came up to us and said, please don't put any of this on television. We don't want anybody else to know how wonderful it is to live here. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for their hospitality and for sharing their stories with all of us. And of course, I'd like to thank you for watching and invite you to tune in again next time as we continue our search for California's gold. As we end this program, we're going to take one more look at these beautiful dunes here at Pismo Beach. And as we're looking at the pictures of the dunes, we'll hear music supplied by Charles Daniel, a student at Cuesta College.
California's gold is provided to the PBS network statewide through a grant from Wells Fargo Bank, coming through for Californians for over 135 years.
Tonight on KPBS, see our Friday analysis of news and finance, Washington Week at 8 and Wall Street Week at 8:30. Then at 9, singer Bobby McFerrin and cellist Yo-Yo Ma celebrate the music of Mozart on great performances. Also at 10:30, meet a San Francisco Boys Club fighting team.